This is on campus. 3, encouraging students to get involved for partnering with local communities, business, NGO, government, and lastly, engaging in a focus on policy discussion. 3, I would stop encouraging students to get involved for partnering with local communities.
Thank you,
business,
Dr. Nugroho.
NGO,
I'm excited myself to bring this idea back to
lastly,
SDGs
engaging in
and
a focus on policy.
Padjadjaran.
3, I would stop encouraging students to get involved for
share to us
partnering
about the
with local communities.
Thank you, Dr. Nugroho. I'm excited myself to bring this idea back to SDGs
engaging in a focus on policy.
Padjadjaran.
3, I would stop encouraging students to get involved for
share to this idea back to SDGs
engaging in a focus on policy.
Let me first of all take this opportunity to thank the Ministry of National Development Planning, Government of Indonesia, and also Bappenas, and also our Executive Secretary, Ida, who gave me this opportunity and introduced me to come here and make. Let me first of all this presentation, which I'm going to make. It's really interesting to see the initiative and the lead taken by Indonesia, recognizing how government and university partnership to come here. One of the things SCAP has been promoting all along is evidence-based policy making. And whenever you have to do that evidence-based policy making, it requires research and input. And we all know, not that the policy makers cannot do research, but they have so many things to do that certain elements which are important in making policy perhaps could be missed because they have multitasking, running, answering to the bosses, responding to the parliament, the questions. So they wish to work. I was in government for 25 years. And also I struggle the same, so I can narrate that with many of the officials here. Though the senior officers will ask you, oh, give me this number, give me that number, and you struggle doing that. And so I think this is a very important initiative. And this is an initiative which we started doing in Southwest Asia in New Delhi, because most of the member states in our region, they had their own government think tanks. And they were working and supporting the government in formulating policy. Including, if you just to give you a glimpse, that we have all along, like this is an APFSD, it's Asia Pacific Forum for Sustainable Development. But the sub-regional offices, we do a sub-regional forum on SDGs, and every year we used to bring South Asia think tanks to come. And that was a stakeholder consultation. So we had a policymaker, we'll bring private sector, and we'll bring think tanks, which included some of the universities, on one platform on brainstorming as to what are the common challenges in Southwest Asia, and how instead of one country doing its own progress, can learn from other countries. I was very happy when the professor made a presentation on the centrality aspect, because you have 17 goals and 160 odd indicator targets, and then many indicators, but these are all cross-cutting. I mean, you cannot say that economic development will not impact social or will not impact environment. Similarly, anything which you do to mainstream social or social protection will have other impacts, and therefore such kind of evidence were becoming very clear. And so there was a demand which was raised to create a network of think tanks in South Asia. And so we created a South Asia forum or South Asia network on SDGs, and we had included initially where they will work on contextualization of the SDGs, identification of the data gaps, monitoring of regional trends, developing regional policy frameworks, addressing special development challenges, etc. And it was one of the thing which ESCAP delivered. The next slide, please. Way back in 2020, that we launched SANS, which was a South Asia network on SDG, and now it has become South and Southwest Asia network on SDGs. And there we are fostering. So it's not only national, it's a sub-regional. So the think tanks of these countries also come on one platform and learn from each other. So like from Indonesia, the papers which he was showing, I saw it is perhaps very important, Professor, if that you can present to some of my think tanks and I can facilitate that, because that is exchange which need to happen. You happen through international conferences, but they are more academic in nature. And the benefit of SANS is that sometimes even you have a tendency for a researcher to look at pure theoretical and which is not very pragmatic or practical in policy making. And this platform bridges the expectation which a policymaker wants and the result which he is expecting from the research community. Similarly, the research community tells that, look here, this is a methodology which we have used, very sound methodology. So it's robust, the results are better. And on really, yes, the data is not showing there I am regressing or progressing on SDG, but yeah, this says so. Or if I handle one SDG, maybe it will impact 3 SDGs together. Now that kind of things the research community can only bring. The next slide. So we launched the next slide. Yeah. So we launched SANS on 2nd December 2020 at the 4th SDG Forum. Yeah, this one. And this is our web page. I will show you what it has. And we have institutional members. We have also advisory committee, and the government and the think tanks are the members. The understanding that this was between government and researcher. The next slide, please. So we have these think tanks, you can see. So we have a Biruni Institute from Afghanistan, Center for Policy Dialogue from Bangladesh. We have South Asia Network on Economic Modeling, which is in the Dhaka University from Bangladesh. We have many from India, and India, most of them are government think tank. We have South Asia Watch on Trade and Economics and Environment, Southi in Nepal. SDPI is in Pakistan. The head of the SDPI is also in the Prime Minister's Advisory Council. The Kathmandu Southi is also into many government policy advisory group. RIS from India is leading the Think Tank 20 initiative of G20 presidency in India now. So these are these institutions who are member, and they were the ones who demanded from us. And so we have a membership from Turkey, and Maldives National University has also applied for this membership. And every year we do 2 or 3 brainstorming among these think tanks or the universities. They decide on the research which ESCAP need to do for that particular year to help the countries in attaining the SDGs. And then we go back and provide the policy brief for the government, various governments. Now, the next slide. The website, if you go, it will give you all the countries which are member, their government link, their think tanks link. We also have some of the civil society who are participating in it. We have on our website, we are working on it last 3 years. We have developed around 1160 good SDG practices, which are at a local level, sub-national level, or a national level, which is implemented. And that database, I will show you. You can do a lot of work with that database. The next slide. We also have the link to the resource tab. So all these think tanks, whenever they come out with any research, any output, and when we started the COVID hit, so we had 2 links, one for the COVID, another for SDG. So all their studies are linked here, are put there. And we have further classified these studies into either it's a country study resources or it is a regional or sub-regional study which has been done. So any kind of search you want to do is available on one platform. So this we have also developed as a knowledge depository because each institution has its own website where they put. But for some researcher, they have to find and struggle looking at various researches, methodology, etc. So we thought it would be good to put it at one place. The next. So this is again there we have a good practices on SDG database. These are the one which have brought positive changes at a local level or a sub-national level or a national level, and you can search. You can search through SDG, you can search through target, you can search through keywords. So if you want to know about water, it will give you all the results in Excel below, and you will know. And it also provides the web link for either the government policy or the research or an action which has been taken at a local level. So we have uploaded last on 31st of January 2023, 1160 such practices, and we upload every 3 months.
Sorry, Dr. Ratna.
Yeah.
Interrupt. Could you please wrap up? Sorry.
Done.
Yeah.
So this is our web page. The next slide. And this is my email if you want to need further. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ratna, for sharing us those lessons. I'm very excited about this, actually, about think tank. I hope that we can have that in Southeast Asia, not only in South Asia. Now, last but not least, we have Ms. Arianti Savitri from Tanono Foundation. She is going to share her insight on building local capacity through the SDGs Academy. Your time is now, Ms. Savitri.
Okay. Thank you, Arya. How are you? Yes, and of course, colleagues and distinguished panelists, Professor Arif Yusuf, Dr. Yanuar Nugroho, Dr. Ratna, of course, hi, everybody. So let me introduce, I'm Arianti Savitri, or you can call me Santi. I'm from Tanoto Foundation. So what is Tanoto Foundations before I start my presentations? So basically we are an independent family philanthropy based on the history, our founding fathers, Pak Sukanto Tanoto, who didn't really finish the education. So both Pak Sukanto Tanoto and Ibu Tina Bingi Tanoto, they're really being passionate about education, being passionate about human development. So based on that, they had this independent philanthropy using the platform of SDG to really as a guidance when they're doing all the activity which is stationed or open in Indonesia, Singapore, China, and soon to be Brazil, and the future is going to be in Canada. So one of the things that our founding fathers believe is every person should have the opportunity to realize his or her full potential. So this is also in line with our SDG goals, which is no one left behind. Next slide, please. Okay, so SDG Academy Indonesia basically working on. So the slide, is the slide moving? Because, okay. So SDG Academy Indonesia, I'm sorry.
The slide's not working.
It's not working?
It is operated by your side, Ibu Arianti.
Yes, by Ibu Tini. So let me see if.
Yeah, from her side.
Yeah, so if Ibu Tini can share screen soon. Let me see if I can share the slide because it's stuck. Anyway, let me continue while waiting for the SDG Academy Indonesia is basically with the vision as an innovative capacity building program aiming to increase Indonesia's state and non-state actors capacity. So what we've been working here, SDG Academy Indonesia was born in 2019, and it was because of the good relationship. I think the partnership is one of the key factors here between the local government, the national government, and also with some university. When we developed this SDG Academy Indonesia together with the National Planning Agency, we have National Sekretariat also. Thank you for all the government of Indonesia. We finally make this happen because we want to change the paradigm coming from the lessons learned from the local government. We work together with the Riau province's government, and based on this Riau lesson learned, we developed capacity building to change the paradigm. We targeted individual, we also targeted institutional. We want to have the future leaders that can have the SDG in mind, SDG goals in mind when they're making some decision, and also sustainable institution when they try to work on changing the ecosystem or even influencing SDG related policy. Next. SDG Academy Indonesia is basically have 3 programs. First, we have SDG leadership programs. It's a 5-month program where we have these online courses and cover topics ranging from education, poverty, all other SDG specific issues, which is chosen by the capstone project, and in the end, because we would like to have this hands-on experience, and some of our alumni from whatever we have in SDG, coming from the SDG leadership programs. On top of that, we have mobile learning program, which is a free course, consists of 13 modules, which can be accessible from all over the world, but this is still in Bahasa Indonesia. But what we're trying to do with the SDG mobile learning program, we want to reach out and build the awareness coming from a different, not only academicians, but not only the government, but also scholars, but also the households, so everybody can have an access and have an awareness of this SDG Academy Indonesia. That's some of the pictures you've seen here is one of the impacts is activity conducted by Ali Bustomi, SDG certified leaders in Dopek 2 Variau branch head. So it's basically what we're trying to do is really building the partnership, but for sustainability. If you see with the next slide, this is all our participants' profile. So you can see coming from the national government, private sectors, academicians, CSO, and other philanthropy. So partnership is really important. We have participants' profile coming from a different segments. We have a different topics, and it's also coming from our mobile learning program. So I guess that's all from the SDG Academy Indonesia, from Tanoto Foundation, and we thank you because the partnership is not only with the government, but also with the university. One of the things that I forgot to mention is SDG modules that we have. We work together with one university, University of Indonesia, and together we develop 6 modules for that SDG leadership program. I guess that's all from me, Arya.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Savitri, for your time and information. Now, we move on to very exciting question. Can be from Zoom also. So please join us. Now, when you ask a question, could you please mention your name and your institution? Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience here? Yeah. What is? Yeah. Yeah. Could you please mention your name and your institution? Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. I'm Leonardo Tugustambodo, a director from Ministry of National Development Planning of Indonesia. I would like to ask one question to Pak Arif, because you you have a statement that it is not about collaboration but also understanding about data. So the challenge is how the understanding about data of SDG achievement, for example, can also be translated into different programs that are contributed by the stakeholders. So what will be the not the communication strategy, but what are the narrative, what are the messages that can be translated from this data into stakeholders that would like to contribute for the achievement of SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Teguh. Apa kabar? My comment is data is important in various ways. For us in the university, of course, from people who are doing research, data is necessary ingredients for our day-to-day works, yeah? To do research, to publish paper. But in this case, I think data is more important than that, because data also inform policy making in the context of SDG, and is even more challenging in SDGs because, as we know, SDG has big scope, as I mentioned previously. So data is important. However, the data itself is, maybe before I'm commenting more on data is not only the information we need, also can impact actions. I think so. To be able to make data impactful, data has to be processed, and then also data has to be repackaged, and that we have need collaboration not only from university but also from policy making, from communication specialists and things like that. So I'd like to quote that actually data should combine with others. For example, best practices. Data should be retold to become stories, because some old saying said that story sometimes has better soul than data. So data is not the only ingredient. Data need to be processed by us. But another issue is, I think, because I also happen to be a member of the statistical Bappenas in the advisory board of Indonesian Statistics Office. So I learned actually that to collect data from the angle of statistician, it is not easy, because as a statistician you are trained to be careful. So to be careful, as an economist, maybe I'm not that trained as much to be careful in data, but as a statistician, that's different. So sometimes I have conflict with them. Come on, give me the data. No, I cannot give you the data. It's not ready yet, for example. So there are some challenge, yeah, in that. So that's I think my remark on answering this question. So data is the big issues in SDG, and I'm happy that Pak Teguh raised the issues, and we have many front in trying to improve that area, including from the statistical aspect, from the Bappenas aspect. Bappenas has tried to make the data in a form that is more communicable. Yeah? For example, in the form of dashboard, as I remember, and scientists like us also try to use the data to be able to use it to more policy making area. I hope that it may help.
I'm a Canadian but a visiting scholar at Chulalongkorn University. Sorry, our president wasn't able to attend this session. I don't know why. Yes. So I don't in any way speak for him. I'm independent scholar, and first just congratulate you on the very impressive set of presentations, and also the work that you're doing in Indonesia. I think there's a lot other countries could learn from you. So I just have first an observation and a question. I've been involved for the last 8 or 9 years off and on in Thailand. We did actually a study of Chulalongkorn University on one SDG in particular, SDG 2, and published a study I can share with you if you're interested after. And actually, I'd like to learn more about some of the work you've been doing. But my question is, what kind of relationships do you have with other universities other than in